My father took 10 arrows for the general, so I became the general's youngest son's fiancée. You understand, a country girl like me is no match for the young master. The young master told me not to overthink it, said he would treat me well. The young master is perfect, handsome, and gentle, just doesn't like to smile. That day, the young master had me wear an expensive white fox fur cloak and took me to attend the cousin lady's birthday banquet. The moment I arrived, all the noble young ladies burst into laughter, and the young master laughed too. Only later did I find out. The cousin lady had once told the young master that my eyes were dark and bright, just like the little white dog she raised as a child. The young master kept it in mind and decided to give the cousin lady a surprise. Turns out the young master doesn't dislike smiling, he just doesn't like smiling at me. Half a month has passed since the cousin lady's birthday banquet. Yet this matter suddenly spread through every street and alley like embers reigniting. Now, both I and the Duke of Wei's mansion have become the laughingstock of the entire capital. It started when the cousin lady had her birthday, and Xiaoyan sent someone to inform me that he wanted to take me to attend. He said after we marry in the future, as the wife of the Duke's heir, I would surely have to attend all kinds of banquets. Getting to know the noble ladies now would be beneficial later. Xiaoyan had always been distant with me, so this sudden closeness surprised and delighted me. On the actual day, Xiaoyan personally delivered an expensive and gorgeous white fox fur cloak. I was a bit hesitant after all, it was the cousin lady's birthday. Wearing white didn't seem very festive. Xiaoyan, for the first time ever, pressed down on my shoulder, his tone gentle. "It is fine, you look beautiful in white." I blushed with shyness, my heart instantly blooming with joy, thinking he must like me, just that he usually spoke little and wasn't good at expressing himself. When Xiaoyan and I arrived at the Liu residence, the official young ladies from various families had already arrived. They were all close friends of my cousin, of noble birth and elegant demeanor, standing in the garden, each one looking like a fairy. I felt somewhat ashamed of my own inadequacy and lowered my head. Xiaoyan said gently, "Don't be afraid." At this moment a maid called out, "Oh my, third Master Xiao and that Miss Hai from his family are here." Everyone turned around, looking at me and Xiaoyan in unison. They didn't say anything, sizing me up from head to toe. Suddenly, the vice minister's daughter let out a pfft of laughter, and then all the young ladies burst into laughter as if they had planned it beforehand. They were beautiful, and their laughter was as pleasant as larks. I was momentarily confused, like a lost little duckling standing there uneasily. But even if I was foolish, I could tell their laughter wasn't friendly. I looked at Xiaoyan. He obviously knew what was going on, pressing his lips together, holding it in, his shoulders slightly shaking, that jade-like handsome face flushed red, secretly waving his hands and shaking his head at the young ladies. Then he gazed deeply at my cousin. My cousin's pretty face was slightly flushed, and she mouthed 2 words to him, "Thank you." I only found out later that the cousin had once said to Xiaoyan, "Miss Hai's face is round, and her eyes are dark and bright, just like the little white dog she raised when she was young. When her beloved dog died, she cried for a long time." To make the cousin laugh, Xiaoyan deliberately had me wear a white fox fur cloak and appear at the birthday banquet. This matter finally reached Uncle Xiao's ears. Yesterday, after Uncle Xiao came home, the first thing he did was summon Xiaoyan before him and asked for a clear explanation. With a livid face, he ordered Xiaoyan to apologize and make amends to me. Xiaoyan firmly refused. He thought it was just a joke, nothing serious. As a 7-foot-tall man, the heir of the Duke's mansion, there was absolutely no reason for him to bow to a woman. Uncle Xiao was furious and immediately ordered the servants to tie his son to a bench. He took a stick as thick as a wrist and beat Xiaoyan hard, cursing while hitting. If Heirong's father hadn't carried me out from a pile of corpses and blocked 10 arrows and 20 blades for me, how would I have the days of being made a marquis and general now? How would you have the chance to be an heir? "You ungrateful beast! How dare you humiliate your own fiancée like this? If you don't apologize to her, I'll beat you to death." Xiaoyan clenched his teeth tightly, not uttering a single sound, and was beaten until he passed out. I think Xiaoyan probably really hates me quite a lot. 2 years ago, Uncle Xiao brought me back to the Duke's mansion. He announced to everyone that when I turned 17, he would hold a wedding for me in Xiaoyan. Madame was the first to object in the early years. Madame couldn't bear children. The eldest and second sons in the mansion were both born of concubines, and they both married ladies from noble families. Madame didn't give birth to Xiaoyan until she was 30, and she doted on him like he was the apple of her eye. She absolutely refused to let her precious son marry some country bumpkin. But Uncle Xiao was a man of his word. He directly told Madame, "Ronger is the daughter of my life savior. This girl is resilient, clever, and talented. If your son won't marry her, then the title will never be passed to your son." The threat was quite obvious. Madame's maiden family wasn't prominent, and Uncle Xiao was away at war for years. So the couple's relationship wasn't deep. She didn't dare offend the powerful Uncle Xiao, so she swallowed me like a fly, holding back her disgust. In the evening, I stewed a pot of soup for nourishing blood, and Chi took some top-quality wound medicine and went to deliver them to Xiaoyan. When I got there, Xiaoyan's personal page boy Tang Yuan was dozing off on the bench in the covered walkway. When he saw me coming, he was so startled he fell to the ground. This kid was 16 this year, a year younger than me. He had delicate, fair features, prettier than a girl, and was well liked by Xiaoyan. Tang Yuan rubbed his butt, stuck out his tongue in embarrassment, and hurriedly bowed to me. "Miss, you are here." I looked toward the main room. "What is third master doing?" Tang Yuan smiled and said, "He had dinner with Madame earlier, and now he is reading military books." I looked at the food box in my hands and sighed. "Oh, so he has already eaten, never mind then." Tang Yuan noticed my little gesture and quickly said, "Miss, you've come all this way. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Let me go in and announce you." A moment later, Tang Yuan lifted the thick felt curtain and winked at me. "Third master invites you in." I nodded and smiled at Tang Yuan to show my thanks. As soon as I entered, a strong smell of medicine hit me. Xiaoyan was lying face down on the bed at the moment, covered with a soft down quilt, and sure enough, he was holding a book in his hands. I didn't know many characters, so I couldn't tell what he was reading. He must have really been beaten badly, his complexion wasn't good, and he looked very weak overall. Third master. I lowered my head, tears falling. Xiaoyan coldly interrupted me, didn't even glance at me, and turned a page. "I heard from Tang Yuan that you came to deliver soup. Leave it and go back, get some rest early." I bit my lower lip. Does it hurt a lot? I brought wound medicine, a secret family recipe. It is very effective for external injuries. "Eno." Xiaoyan tossed the book to the ground. "Father beat me in front of everyone yesterday, venting your anger for you. Aren't you happy? Why put on this virtuous and gentle act? It is just nauseating." It felt like I'd been slapped across the face, my cheeks burning and stinging for the first time, the very first time I expressed my displeasure to him. But if you hadn't dressed me up as a little white dog, Uncle Xiao wouldn't have gotten so angry. Xiaoyan sneered. "Herong, haven't you been a bitch before?" "Yes, I had almost been one. Father was conscripted by the court, and due to years of war, everyone in the family had died, leaving only grandmother and me. Grandmother was gravely ill, and medicine during wartime was precious and scarce. For those years, I washed clothes for others to earn money, even begged on the streets, but still couldn't scrape together enough for the medicine. The madam of the pleasure house saw I had some looks and wanted to buy me. I agreed. Poor people in chaotic times could barely survive who cared about dignity. Perhaps Father's spirit in heaven was watching over me, because on my very first day listed for sale, Uncle Xiao brought Xiaoyan and found me. That was the first time I saw Xiaoyan. I'd never seen such a handsome person, elegant and dashing, with a noble air. Uncle Xiao stroked my withered yellow hair with pity, then glanced at his son and said, "You two are similar in age, a good match." I lowered my head in self-deprecation, with only 4 words in my mind, worlds apart. "You never truly wanted to marry me, did you?" I asked with tears in my eyes. Xiaoyan acted as if he had heard some joke. "Do you even need to ask?" He glared at me viciously. It was my father who wanted to repay a debt of gratitude, not me. Why should I sacrifice my entire life for it? My eldest and second brothers both married ladies from distinguished families. Why should I marry someone of your background? Besides, your father was just a squad leader at best. In these years of war, how many soldiers have died charging into battle for the general? If we had to thank this one and repay that one, how many young lords would it take to fill the debt? "Stop talking!" I shouted at Xiaoyan. "Why shouldn't I say it?" Xiaoyan sneered. "You think my father really wanted you as a daughter-in-law? He just did it for his own reputation." I was trembling with anger, but my tongue was clumsy and I couldn't express myself well. "You can't talk about Uncle Xiao like that. He is a truly remarkable hero. He drove back the enemy and saved me, hero." Xiaoyan was full of disdain. "A general's glory is built on 10,000 bleached bones. He is a hero who climbed up by stepping on countless corpses. When you really think about it, my father is indirectly your father's killer too. How do you have the face to marry the son of your enemy? Perhaps your father deliberately threw his life away just to secure a good future for you." I grabbed the food box in hatred, wanting to smash it onto the bed. "Shut up, don't you dare insult my father and Uncle Xiao. Go ahead and smash it." Xiaoyan stared at me fixedly, then suddenly sneered. "Think it through. Once you smash this down, I'll have every reason not to marry you. Do you dare, Herong? You have no talent and no virtue. Even my cousin's dog is nobler than you. Why are you even alive?" After saying that, he turned his head away, his voice trembling slightly. "My whole life has been ruined by my father and you. Get out." I carried the food box and stumbled out of the main room like a lost soul. Outside, a crowd of maids and nannies had already gathered to watch the spectacle. Seeing me come out, they quickly scattered in all directions. It was snowing outside. My body and heart had long gone cold at that moment. The page boy Teng Yuan came forward, holding a brocade box. He looked at me worriedly, wanting to speak but hesitating. "What is it?" I was exhausted. Teng Yuan opened the food box and said cautiously, "This servant just came back from home and happened to run into someone from the Liu family. The young miss sent someone to deliver a box of bird's nest cakes, saying it is to apologize to you. The young miss said she never expected the third master would humiliate you like this for her sake." I glanced at that gilded and embroidered brocade box and smiled bitterly. Summoning like me deserves to die. How could I be worthy of eating such fine things? Tang Yuan said anxiously. How can Miss say such things? Everyone knows you've suffered a great injustice this time. With that, Tang Yuan threw the brocade box to the ground and stomped on it several times. What precious thing is this? As if our marquis manor doesn't have any. She knew full well that third young master was about to be engaged, yet she still said such seductive words, and now she is putting on a show of sending pastries. Isn't this deliberately slapping you in the face? My tears fell like a broken string of pearls, crying without end. Tang Yuan hesitated for a moment, then pulled out a plain silk handkerchief from his sleeve and offered it with both hands. Miss, please wipe your tears. This handkerchief is clean. I haven't used it. I froze, gazing through tear-blurred eyes at the handsome young man before me. Thank you, Tang Yuan. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I thought for a long time. And when the candle burned out, I finally made a decision. Early the next morning, I dressed neatly and specially put on light makeup. I had a maid go invite Uncle Xiao and Madame to come to the flower hall without fail, saying I had a matter of life and death to discuss, very urgent. While at it, I had someone invite Xiaoyan as well. When I arrived, the Xiao family was already there. Uncle Xiao had the day off today, wearing casual home clothes. He was of imposing build, seated at the head. Xiaoyan, because of the injury on his buttocks, stood leaning on a cane beside his mother. He gave me an indifferent glance, his face full of disgust. Madame held a small leaf-red sandalwood Buddhist bead bracelet in her hand, glancing worriedly at her son from time to time. She said irritably, "What is so urgent that you had to summon everyone here? Don't you know third young master is unwell?" Uncle Xiao set his teacup down heavily on the table. Ronger is the most sensible and filial. Since she called us here, there must be something important. You are idle and bored all day anyway. What is the harm in listening to the child say a few words?" Saying this, Uncle Shao smiled at me and asked gently, "What is the matter, Ronger?" I knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Uncle Shao. "Please dissolve my engagement with third master." As soon as these words came out, everyone in the flower hall was stunned. Madame obviously didn't believe it. She let out a cold sneer and continued pinching her Buddhist beads with her eyes closed. Uncle Shao glared at Xiaoyan, helped me up, and said with a warm smile, "I heard the servants gossiping that yesterday afternoon when you went to bring soup to Yanner, he gave you a cold shoulder again, that ungrateful little wretch." I interrupted Uncle Shao, slamming my head to the ground. "Please dissolve the engagement." Uncle Shao stood up, frowning with displeasure. "Enough. Stop throwing a little girl's tantrum. When a man and woman live together, there is always friction and bumps. Never mention this again. I'll pretend I didn't hear anything today." I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked straight toward Xiaoyan. Remembering his contempt and mockery, I felt hatred and anger. I steeled myself, swung my arm in a full arc, and slapped Xiaoyan across the face. Slap! The crisp sound of the slap echoed through the flower hall, startling the maid serving tea into dropping her cup. Xiaoyan's head was knocked to the side, his pale face quickly turning red. Xiaoyan stood there with his mouth half open, glaring at me furiously. Madame couldn't stay seated any longer and stood up anxiously. I turned around and gave Uncle Shao a radiant smile. "Uncle, I am serious about breaking off the engagement. Third young master doesn't like me, and that is fine. I can't stand him either. I am an unrefined country girl. If we get married, at best we'll argue and fight at worst." I didn't finish the rest and turned to leave. After leaving the flower hall, a cold gust of wind swept over me. I used to think letting go would be painful, but after actually doing it, I found it wasn't that hard. The sunshine is so nice. Uncle Shao seemed so upset by me that his old illness flared up. Madame was shouting urgently in the flower hall for someone to fetch the doctor, and the servants were in a frenzy. I wanted to go check on Uncle Shao, but I knew I couldn't turn back. Just as I stepped over the courtyard threshold, someone suddenly called out to me from behind. Herong, I stood where I was without moving. Before long, Xiaoyan limped over to stand in front of me. He showed no signs of illness at all. His expression relaxed and cheerful, as if a weight had suddenly been lifted from his head. Xiaoyan's hands trembled slightly with excitement. In the end, he managed to squeeze out 3 words, "Thank you." I let out a scornful laugh, seeing that I didn't speak. Xiaoyan was obviously a bit embarrassed. Suddenly, he cupped his fists and gave me a deep bow. "Miss Hai, I was rude before. Please forgive me." I hummed in acknowledgement, forcing my tears back, and lifted my chin high. "It is all in the past, besides. I already hit you back just now." Xiaoyan chuckled awkwardly and touched his cheek. He propped himself up with his crutch. For once, his expression toward me wasn't cold or resentful. His eyes reddened as he choked out, "I've always known you are a good girl. It is me who doesn't deserve you. And thank you for letting me and Cousin Qingyan be together." I waved my hand and left with a smile on my lips. In the past, I had the most beautiful dream. Only when I woke up did I realize how far apart the clouds and the mud really were. Xiaoyan, my feelings for you end here. Forgive me for not being able to say words of blessing. From now on, we go our separate ways. May we never meet again. When I reached the back corner gate, I suddenly noticed a familiar figure ahead. It was Tang Yuan. He seemed to be in some pain, his face pale, hunched over slightly, letting out groans from time to time. Supporting him was Gunzi, an errand boy from the back kitchen. "What happened?" I asked, hurrying over. When Tang Yuan saw it was me, he smiled humbly and gently, standing up straight as if nothing was wrong. He was only 16 this year, not yet fully grown, and still 2 finger widths shorter than me. "Why did Miss come here?" Tang Yuan asked with a smile. Seeing cold sweat beating at his temples and his body trembling slightly, clearly forcing himself to hold on, I hurriedly asked, "What on earth happened to you? Are you feeling unwell?" But before Tang Yuan could speak, Gunzi beside him curled his lips first. "Miss, you may well ask." To vent your anger, Tang Yuan smashed the pastry box that Cousin Miss sent yesterday afternoon. Who knows which clever snitch saw it and went to whisper in Third Master's ear. Tang Yuan anxiously waved his hands. Don't say it." Gunzi was quick-tongued. Third Master got angry and had the kitchen make pastries, ordering Tang Yuan to eat them all, good heavens. 20 plates of meat and vegetarian ones, plus 2 big bowls of old duck soup, nearly stuffed him to death. I felt terribly guilty, my nose stinging, tears rolling down. I lowered my head. "I am sorry, I got you in trouble." Tang Yuan glared at Gunzi, sweating even more on his forehead in panic. "No, no, no. Third Master just saw I was too thin and took pity on me, rewarding me with some food. It has nothing to do with Miss." As he spoke, Tang Yuan looked around and asked puzzledly, "Why did Miss come out alone? Where are the maids attending you? Those lazy things. They need to be disciplined again. No need for anyone to attend to me. From now on, I won't be staying at the Shao residence anymore." "Huh?" Tang Yuan and Gunzi were both shocked at the same time. I smiled faintly and told them about the engagement annulment just now. Tang Yuan's eyes widened in shock, and he asked cautiously, "Then, Miss, where do you plan to go next?" I lowered my eyes. "Back to my hometown, I suppose. But your grandmother passed away from illness. There is no one left in your hometown. Your household registration documents were moved to the capital long ago, without a travel permit. You can't go anywhere." I bit my lower lip lightly. "Anyway, I won't stay here anymore." After saying this, I lowered my head and walked past these 2 boys, heading straight outside. Unexpectedly, Tang Yuan followed me. I glared at him. "What, are you going to persuade me to stay?" Tang Yuan smiled and said, "Since Miss has made up her mind, you probably won't turn back. It is just that you are a young, delicate lady, and it is always unsafe to be alone outside. Besides, once the master wakes up, he'll definitely want to speak with you. How about this? I'll prepare the carriage right now and take you to an inn outside first. You can also think it over quietly about how to live on your own from now on." My heart warmed. "But you are not feeling well, forget it." Tang Yuan shrugged, looking relaxed. "It is fine. It is a good chance to go out with you and walk around a bit. It might even help with digestion." On the 9th day of the 12th month, I left the Shao residence where I had lived for 2.5 years. Let go of Xiaoyan and let go of myself too. I sat curled up inside the carriage, while Tang Yuan walked outside, pulling the cart, heading toward that unknown distance. "Tang Yuan, where are you from?" "I am from Yangzhou. My ancestors were wealthy merchants too, but the family fell on hard times, and then came the war, so I had to sell myself into servitude at the Duke's mansion." I was drowsy. "A Yangzhou native, huh? No wonder you have rosy lips and white teeth, born so good-looking." The street was noisy. I dozed off for a bit and seemed to hear Tang Yuan say, "This servant isn't good-looking. It is the young miss who is good-looking." I temporarily stayed at a small inn in the southern part of the city. In the evening, Uncle Shao and Madame came together to fetch me. My attitude was firm. I would absolutely not go back. Madame was actually quite pleased inside, but she sighed with feigned regret, held me in her arms, and wiped her tears, saying, "Wrong is a sensible and gentle good child. It is our Yanner who doesn't have this fortune." After all this time, this was the first time Madame praised me. In the end, Madame took out 25 taels of silver, forced it into my hands, and even wanted to take me as her goddaughter. Uncle Shao suddenly spoke up. He gazed at me steadily and asked in a deep voice, "Ronger, have you really thought this through? No regrets?" I shook my head. "No regrets." I saw Uncle Shao let out a deep sigh, lowered his head in silence. His eyes filled with complicated emotions, his brows tightly furrowed, as if burdened with heavy thoughts. After a long while, Uncle Shao smiled bitterly and murmured something I couldn't understand. Could it be fate, Sai? "I am afraid there is no escaping it," I asked in confusion. "Uncle, what can't be escaped?" "Nothing." Uncle Shao straightened up, looking rather serious. Since you've already made up your mind, I won't force you, but there are some things I need to tell you beforehand. First, once you leave the Duke's mansion, you'll have no connection whatsoever with my Shao family. As you wish, we'll never see each other again for the rest of our lives. If outsiders ask, you'll say the same. Hearing this, I was somewhat surprised. In the past, Uncle Shao had treated me like his own daughter. It seemed I had truly hurt the old man's feelings this time. I am sorry, Uncle Shao. I lowered my head and apologized. Uncle Shao opened the brocade box he had brought, pushed it toward me, and said, "Inside are some money, as well as the property deeds for a small residence in the south of the city and 3 shops. Take them." No, no, no. I waved my hands repeatedly. I've already received so much care from you and your wife, I really couldn't accept any more. I am not giving them to you for free. Uncle Shao's gaze was profound. Since you want to go out and live on your own, let this lord see what you are capable of. These things aren't worth that much, totaling about 450 taels, whether you rent them out or do some other business. 3 years if you can earn 50 taels in 3 years. I'll give them all to you if you can't. Then Uncle will take them all back. At that time, whether you end up wandering the streets or selling yourself into slavery, Uncle won't care. My heart stirred. Uncle Shao was encouraging me to be independent and self-reliant. Once I had the ability to earn 50 taels, no matter what situation I found myself in, I could pick myself up on my own. All right. I nodded firmly and agreed. In 3 years, I wouldn't take these properties. I would return them all to the Shao family. That night, I moved into my new home. The small courtyard wasn't big, but it was elegant and exquisite. 1 entrance and 1 exit, 6 rooms, and there was even a koi pond in the inner courtyard. Tang Yuan and Gunzi came over in the evening when they had nothing to do and helped me clean the house inside and out. They were quite envious of me being able to establish my own household with such generous assets in my hands. They asked me what I planned to do next. I had thought seriously about this question. The small courtyard had many rooms, and it would be a waste for me to live there alone. I wanted to find a suitable person to rent to so I'd have some company and also ensure my own safety. As for the 3 shops, they were all on the busiest streets. I planned to rent out 2 and keep 1 for myself. I want to try doing business, but I haven't figured out what yet. After a hectic month of running around, I discovered I have a major weakness. I don't know many characters and can't read account books. This is a big problem. I came up with an idea: hire a female tutor to teach me to read. It is quite laughable when I think about it. During those 2 years, Madame thought I was too uncultured to be presentable, so she personally taught me to write. I really had a splitting headache. Seeing books made me want to die. I'd rather learn cooking and making soup from the kitchen maid. I figured taking good care of Xiaoyan was better than anything else. After teaching me for a few days, Madame scolded me for being a blockhead who couldn't learn and said her niece Lu Qingyan was a talented lady skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Even the scholars at the Hanlin Academy praised her poems. Back then, I didn't catch the regret in Madame's words. I didn't understand why she was comparing me to a noble lady. Turns out, Madame had known about her son and Lu Qingyan's affair all along now. I want to learn to read and write on my own initiative. The more I learn, the more I'll understand, and my path will be broader. A few days later, Tang Yuan brought me some news. The marriage between the young miss and third master has been settled. They'll be getting married soon. That fast. I was somewhat surprised. Tang Yuan warmed herself by the fire, gave me a meaningful look, and seemed a bit embarrassed to speak. The young miss is pregnant. 3 months along. I was stunned. 3 months. Counting the time, she must have conceived around the time of her birthday banquet. I understood. I let out a scoff, looking at these noble and elegant young masters and ladies, all rotten to the core. On the day of their wedding, Lu Qingyan had someone send me a jar of vinegar. I felt nothing inside and turned around to sell it at a high price. After all, this was vinegar personally brewed by Miss Lu from the Imperial Academy Chancellor's family, quite fragrant indeed. Because of my previous identity, the buyer had no doubts. I used the money I earned to get myself 2 pieces of furniture plus a big pork knuckle. The 2 shops were quickly rented out with a 3-year lease agreement. As for the remaining shop, I was also in the process of purchasing kitchen utensils and tables and chairs, planning to open a store. Tang Yuan and Gunzi had no parents and would often come to hang out at my place when they had nothing to do, helping me out and frequently bringing me news from the Shao residence. After the cousin married in, she and Third Master were naturally deeply in love. But recently, the Duke seemed to have submitted a memorial requesting to confer the eldest son as heir. Back then, Madame couldn't bear children, so the eldest son was registered under her name. After being raised for 7 or 8 years, he could technically be considered legitimate. This matter caused quite a stir. Madame naturally disagreed, but Uncle Shao coldly responded, "I said it back then, if your son doesn't marry Herong, he won't have any share of the heir position. A man's word is his bond. Moreover, in terms of virtue and ability, the eldest is the most outstanding. He followed me on campaigns to the south and north, establishing remarkable military achievements. As for your son, you've spoiled him like precious jade. He can't do literature, can't do martial arts, all day long, only knows how to indulge in pleasure. A piece of trash. What qualifications does he have to inherit my family's legacy?" Madame was rendered speechless, and fell ill in a fit of anger. The position of heir's wife that was within reach was lost. Just like that, Lu Qingyan couldn't swallow this. She fought with the first and second branches for control of the household. To frame the first branch couple, she deliberately made it look like she was being framed. After eating the pastries sent by the first sister-in-law, she suddenly had a miscarriage. This matter was quickly investigated by Uncle Shao. Uncle Shao was very displeased and had already thought about having his son divorce Lu Qingyan, but Madame refused no matter what. Shao Yan defended his sweetheart, stiffening his neck, saying it was the first sister-in-law who harmed his wife and child, openly accusing his father of favoritism, even wanting to move out and establish a separate household. Actually, Shao Yan knew the truth crystal clear in his heart. He lost the heir position and lost his child after his cousin married in. She suddenly seemed like a different person. All the slightly decent-looking maids around him were all driven away, and she set rules for him. He had to be home by the hour of you. Otherwise, it would be assumed he went gallivanting with prostitutes. Shao Yan was feeling gloomy, drank a couple extra cups, and got involved with a little maid who was serving tea. He wanted to make that gentle and lovely maid a concubine, but who knew, the next day, that maid suddenly slipped and fell into a well and drowned. Shao Yan saw the bloated corpse and was so scared he had a fever for several days. From then on, he refused to touch Lu Qingyan again. "Shao Yan, is this the wife you wanted? My little eatery has opened, but with limited funds on hand, I can't hire too many people. Fortunately, during my 2 years at the Duke's mansion, I learned cooking skills. Now I just need a suitable accountant and a waiter." Just then, Gunzi rushed over to find me. This kid's eyes were red, and after sitting down and drinking some cold water, he started cursing. There is no justice. Third, Madame finished dealing with the girls around Third Master, and now she is going after the men too. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately thought of Tang Yuan. I hurriedly asked, "Did she beat Tang Yuan?" I was frantic. At the end of last year, Tang Yuan threw away the pastries she sent because of my matters. "Is she holding a grudge?" Gunzi spat. "You guessed right. That black-hearted woman wants to sell Tang Yuan off." I clenched my fists. Sell him where? Gunzi slapped the side of his own face, lowered his head, and cursed. "A shangguan." I knew what a shangguan was, as the name suggests, a house with those who are like girls, in other words, a male brothel. Lu Qingyan really knows no bounds. I ran outside without saying a word. Gunzi asked anxiously, "Where are you going, miss?" I said resentfully, "Going home to get silver to redeem him." I had invested quite a bit of money into the restaurant, but fortunately I had rented out some shops and got some silver. I took all of it, hitched a carriage, and headed straight for the Duke's residence. Seeing Lu Qingyan again, I never expected it would be under such circumstances. In just half a year, she seemed like a different person, still beautiful, but with calculation and ruthlessness in the corners of her eyes and brows. She was holding a small white dog sitting upright in the seat of honor, looking me up and down from head to toe, then suddenly let out a snicker. I knew she was mocking me, mocking how Xiaoyan had humiliated me like a little white dog in front of everyone to please her, mocking how my dream had ended, and now she was the dignified young madam of the Duke's residence, while I was just an ordinary commoner. Third madam. I suppressed my disgust and gave her a bow. Lu Qingyan just stroked the little dog, barely acknowledging me. I took a deep breath and stated my purpose directly. I heard third madam is going to sell Tang Yuan. Lu Qingyan glanced at me sideways. Who told you that? I smiled faintly. Uncle Xiao told me. Lu Qingyan's eyes turned cold and she stood up to leave. Wait, I called out to her in time. Can you sell Tang Yuan to me? Lu Qingyan covered her lips and laughed, unable to hide her contempt. What is your relationship with him? I straightened my back. Friends. Lu Qingyan scoffed. Oh, a friend who can stand up for you and often comes to visit you. Don't think I don't know. I clenched my fists. Is third madam selling or not? Lu Qingyan adjusted her hair bun, looked at me, and smiled sarcastically. Selling? Of course I am selling. Just a useless lowly slave. Keeping him would only dirty our family's reputation. 600 taels. Are you buying or not, Miss Hai? What? My voice couldn't help but rise. Third madam must be joking with me. Lu Qingyan said indifferently. Does Miss Hai think I am so idle, looking for you for amusement? Although Tang Yuan is a bad person, his looks are quite good. Last time young Marquis Cao came for drinks, he took a fancy to him and wanted to trade a Fergana horse for him. I said anxiously. But 600 taels. This is way too much. Lu Qingyan snorted coldly. Buy it or leave it. As she spoke, she walked toward the inner hall holding her dog, smirking. Don't think about waiting until I sell him and then going to redeem him. I've changed my mind now. I won't sell him anymore. I'll keep him in the manor and torment him bit by bit. First, I'll cut out that glib tongue of his. I glared at this woman. Let's be frank. Third madam, you deliberately let Gunzi out to deliver the message and deliberately asked me for this much money. Right. Lu Qingyan just smiled, neither admitting nor denying, and finally said lightly, You slapped third master, severing all ties between us. Why should our Xiao family give you so much money anymore? I understood. She knew that night Uncle Xiao gave me a house and shop worth a total of 450 taels. She not only wants to take it back, but wants even more. I sneered coldly. Does Xiaoyan know you are doing this? Lu Qingyan lifted her chin high. This is also third master's intention. I smiled faintly. Looks like you two are determined to drive me to ruin. Fine, I'll go find Uncle Xiao right now. He has doted on me for so long, surely he won't let certain people bully me. Lu Qingyan panicked. Stop right there. I ignored her and walked straight out, suddenly bumping right into a man. The man caught me in time and quickly asked, Are you all right? The voice was so familiar. I looked up and saw it was Xiaoyan. He had lost a lot of weight, and the exhaustion in his eyes couldn't be hidden. Third master. I looked at his hand gripping my arm. Xiaoyan was startled and quickly let go. Just then, Lu Qingyan suddenly rushed over. She hooked her arm around Xiaoyan's. I was just chatting with Miss Hai. Xiaoyan pushed Lu Qingyan away without showing any emotion. He pulled out a piece of paper from his sleeve and stuffed it into my hand. This is Tang Yuan's slave contract. Take it. I was stunned and instinctively looked at Lu Qingyan beside me. Sure enough, this woman's face went pale, glaring furiously at her husband. I left in a hurry today and only brought 100 taels. I took out a money pouch from my sleeve and handed it over. Xiaoyan pushed the money back. I felt his hand trembling. No need, Xiaoyan smiled bitterly. A Yuan has followed me for several years and suffered a lot. You take him with you. Lu Qingyan shoved Xiaoyan and shouted through tears. What are you doing? Are you slapping me in the face? Xiaoyan furrowed his brows tightly, but still said patiently, Stop making a scene. Father isn't feeling well. I hurriedly asked, Is Uncle Xiao unwell? Xiaoyan smiled. An old ailment flared up, nothing serious. Lu Qingyan grabbed Xiaoyan, tears streaming down. Why are you talking to her? Still have feelings for her? Then why did you go to such lengths to marry me later? Xiaoyan seemed to be suppressing his anger. Stop talking nonsense. Ronger isn't married yet. Don't ruin her reputation. Liu Qingyan's voice was shrill. Reputation? A woman like her? What reputation does she have? Don't forget, Third Master Xiao, it was you who personally ruined her reputation back then. Qingyan! Xiaoyan roared angrily. I ignored them and left with Tang Yuan's indenture contract. Worried about Uncle Xiao's health, I hurried to Ming'an Hall, but when I arrived, I was stopped by the steward. The steward said with a smile, Miss Hai, please go back. The master said back then that he wouldn't see you for 3 years. As he spoke, the steward took out a money pouch from his sleeve and pressed it into my hand. The master heard that you opened a small restaurant and was very happy, but it is not convenient for him to visit, so he had this old servant give you a red envelope. It is not much money, please don't mind. My heart felt stifled, and tears came suddenly. Uncle Xiao. I knelt down and kowtowed, calling toward the courtyard. Please, take care of yourself. Ronger will definitely live up to your expectations and stand on her own. When I saw Tang Yuan again, I got a huge shock. His clothes had been torn to shreds by the whip. His face was covered in bruises, and his hair was messy like a bird's nest. Be careful. I hurried forward, and together with Gunzi, supported him from both sides as we walked toward the mule cart. In that instant, I suddenly noticed something at the end of last year. This kid wasn't even as tall as me, but after just half a year, he was already a head taller than me. Ah, Tang Yuan was barely breathing, his handsome face full of shame. I've made a fool of myself in front of Miss again. I pouted. It is no joke I spent 600 taels to redeem you. Tang Yuan's eyes widened in shock. What? This, that? I burst out laughing. What is with all the this and that? I was kidding. Third Master gave me your indenture for free. Gunzi chimed in from the side. Oh my, you have no idea how amazing Miss Hai is. She got third, madam. So mad, steam was coming out of her head. I heard that shrew is arguing with Third Master in their room right now. Tang Yuan's cheeks reddened slightly, and he stole a glance at me. Thank you, miss, for saving me. No need to thank me. The corners of my lips curled up. Tang Yuan, you are free now. You can go back to Yangzhou. Tang Yuan didn't say anything, lowering his head. Perhaps walking had pulled at his wound. He sucked in a sharp breath from the pain. Gunzi and I slowed down at the same time without saying a word. Gunzi laughed and said, Whether it is redeeming one or two, it is still redeeming. Miss, why don't you redeem me too? I am quick on my feet and can work as a waiter at your restaurant. I glared at him. I am not bothering with you. Gunzi pretended to cry loudly. Miss only cares about Tang Yuan, so biased. Though I said that, when leaving the manor, I still found the steward and redeemed Gunzi as well. By the time we headed back, it was already afternoon. The afterglow of the setting sun scattered on the long, quiet road like bits of broken gold. Gunzi was quick on his feet and went to find a doctor. Tang Yuan lay in the cart while I pulled it from outside. Miss. Tang Yuan covered his mouth and coughed. He lifted the cart curtain and looked at me. I am so useless. How can I let you pull the cart for me? What is the big deal? I laughed. You've pulled it for me too. Tang Yuan's face flushed red with embarrassment. Miss, can I stay? I didn't catch on for a moment. Tang Yuan was so anxious he started stammering. I am not trying to mooch off you. I just want to help you. Oh wait, that is not right. I want to find a job. I don't need wages. Just give me food and I'll be fine. Is that okay, miss, please? His eyes were moist, glistening, full of anticipation. Number, I said. Tang Yuan felt a wave of disappointment and lowered his head. I chuckled. It is not true that I don't like it. Tang Yuan suddenly raised his head and was about to stand up, but he was so tall that his head bonked right into the carriage roof. Ouch! Tang Yuan rubbed his head, grimacing in pain. I shook my head with a smile, looking at this silly boy. Sit still. Don't go adding new injuries. Tang Yuan stuck out his tongue embarrassedly and held onto the carriage wall to sit properly. Tang Yuan had been recovering for 5 days, and no matter what anyone said, he refused to stay lying down anymore. He wanted to get up and help me work and run the business. I have to say, he had studied under Xiaoyan and knew how to read and write, plus his family used to be in business, so he had a real talent for it. He stayed up all night, organized my messy account books, analyzed each entry for me, and taught me how to write and keep records. Not only that, he was meticulous, making trip after trip to the market, constantly comparing prices of vegetables and meat from different vendors, and giving suggestions for the next purchase. As for Bangzi, he was a social butterfly with a silver tongue, greeting guests day in and day out, continuously bringing in new customers. I focused on the kitchen, making every dish well. Our restaurant's business got better and better later. I really couldn't keep up, so I hired a cook and took on 2 helpers. Probably feeling guilty about what happened before, Xiaoyan also came by a few times and introduced quite a few friends to patronize us. Tang Yuan and I thanked him very politely. I still remember the look in his eyes when he watched us was a bit strange. He sighed and turned to leave. On the night of the 15th of August, we closed the inn for the day. The cook made a big table full of dishes, and everyone sat together eating and drinking. In a blur, I seemed to see Uncle Xiao's figure, which flashed and disappeared. I put down my chopsticks and chased outside, but didn't find Uncle Xiao. Tang Yuan and Gunzi ran out and asked me what was wrong. I said, "I thought I saw Uncle Xiao." Tang Yuan looked around nearby, shook his head at me, and sighed. "The master has been busy with many things lately. Probably can't find time to come here." I knew about this. Now that I've opened a shop receiving guests from all over, I occasionally hear some talk. The current emperor rose to power through rebellion, and the old brothers who started the uprising with him were all made marquises and ministers, including Uncle Xiao. 7 years ago, the emperor began purging meritorious officials, established the Northern Pacification Office, and executed Prime Minister Wan's entire family on charges of plotting rebellion, implicating over 10,000 people. Prime Minister Wan and Uncle Xiao were from the same hometown, and the two had a deep relationship. Everyone said it would be Uncle Xiao's turn sooner or later, but years passed and the emperor still hadn't made a move. Recently, the embroidered uniform guard has been frequently going in and out of the Xiao residence, making everyone anxious. I vaguely figured something out why Uncle Xiao was so insistent on repaying the kindness back then, why he wanted Third Master to marry me, and why he said those meaningful words when I insisted on leaving the Xiao family. In private, when no one else was around, Tang Yuan told me that Uncle Xiao was probably showing his loyalty to the emperor his daughter-in-law came from the countryside. He wouldn't associate with the powerful and influential. He would repay a drop of kindness with a gushing spring, his sincerity as clear as the sun and moon. It is just a pity. It is just a pity that Xiaoyan would rather die than marry me back then. Busyness isn't easy to do nowadays. Everyone can feel the danger outside. Imperial guards in flying fish robes ride through the streets on horseback. People inform on others every day. The prisons are too full to hold all the arrested. I heard the Xiao residence has already been searched once. I was worried about Uncle Xiao and went with Tang Yuan several times, but we were driven away by the steward each time. Uncle Xiao had already given instructions long ago the Duke's mansion has nothing to do with me, and he refuses to see me. At the end of the year, the border was in crisis, and the Xiao family was once again entrusted with important duties by the emperor. Uncle Xiao was old and gravely ill, unable to go to the battlefield, so the eldest young master was ordered to lead the campaign. In March, reports of military defeats kept arriving at the emperor's hands, and at this moment, an even more fatal piece of news came. The eldest young master had been captured and had defected to the enemy. The emperor was furious and ordered the Northern Embroidered Uniform Guard to open the imperial prison and had Uncle Xiao and the second young master arrested. When Tang Yuan and I heard this news, We knew the Xiao family was in need of people and money at this time. We discussed it and took out all the profits from over a year of business, then took back the shops we had rented out before and sold them urgently. After that, we rented a very cheap house and sold the elegant little courtyard we had been living in. I scraped together about 700 taels, and Tang Yuan and I hitched up a carriage and headed to the Duke's mansion. The Duke's mansion had completely changed. Now more than half the servants were gone, and many places looked desolate and deserted. Madame was ill. When she heard I had come, she forced herself to sit up despite her sickness. "Wronger, come, sit here." Madame patted the edge of the bed and called me over with a smile. My nose stung. Madame seemed to have aged over a decade. Half her hair had turned white, and her face was pale as wax paper. One look, and you could tell it was from worry. "Madam." Tang Yuan and I knelt down and kowtowed to her. I looked around and noticed only third master was there attending to her medicine. Lu Qingyan was nowhere to be seen. I asked cautiously, "Where is third madam?" Xiaoyan's brows furrowed deeply, clearly somewhat flustered. He forced a smile and said, "Her aunt is ill. She went back to her family home to tend to her." I didn't think much of it. I had Tang Yuan bring over the 700 taels in banknotes and place them by Madame's bed, saying gently, "You must take care of yourself. You have to get through this." The Madame's old eyes were streaming with tears. She glanced at the banknotes, then looked at me, her trembling hand stroking my arm. After a long while, she choked out, "When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Those flatterers who used to come to the Xiao family to mooch off us, who always claimed to be our closest friends, not a single one has come. We kowtowed until our heads bled in prayer, but no one was willing to help. They're all afraid of being implicated. Even my own niece. Now she too." The madam covered her mouth and coughed. "Wronger, only you were willing to come. If you had married Yanner back then, perhaps." I lowered my head without speaking and turned to look at Tang Yuan. Inadvertently, I noticed Xiaoyan staring blankly at me. His eyes reddened. "Please don't think so much. Your health is what matters." I tucked in the blanket for the madam and gently advised, "Uncle Xiao is a great hero, a founding minister. His Majesty will remember the Xiao family's loyalty. Uncle Xiao and the second master will surely return safely." The madam nodded with tears in her eyes and lay down to rest. It was Xiaoyan who saw me and Tang Yuan out of the manor. His expression was desolate as he moved to help me into the carriage. I discreetly avoided his hand. Xiaoyan smiled bitterly, then suddenly looked at me with burning eyes. "Uncle-in-law sent a letter today, asking me to divorce Lu Qingyan. Wronger, do you think I should divorce her?" I avoided his gaze. How could I comment on such a matter? "You can do it!" Xiaoyan suddenly became very agitated, grabbing me. "Wronger, only now do I understand father's good intentions. Only now do I know who I truly like in my heart. Could you please?" I didn't respond to him, looking toward Tang Yuan. "What are you standing there stupidly for? We're going home." Tang Yuan hurried over and respectfully bowed to Xiaoyan. "Third young master, please take care of yourself." The carriage swayed as it traveled along the street. I lifted the curtain sullenly and snapped at the man sitting beside the carriage. He just grabbed my hand. "Why didn't you push him away?" Tang Yuan was stunned. His handsome face suddenly flushed red, and that sharp tongue of his started stammering again. "Well, you were his fiancé before, and I was just his study boy. He is the third young master. The master you liked him so much back then, and now he is confessing to you." "Like him, my ass. The one I like is obviously—" Tang Yuan looked at me and asked, "Who is it?" I spat, "A dog." I huffily threw down the carriage curtain and threw punches into the air in Tang Yuan's direction. A few days later, Madame passed away. Since Master Xiao and the second young master were imprisoned, hardly anyone came to the Duke's mansion to offer condolences. Tang Yuan and I discussed it and closed the shop, going to help Xiaoyan arrange the funeral. The whole time, I never saw anyone from the Liu family come. On the day of the funeral, the Liu family sent people again to urge Xiaoyan to sign the divorce papers. Xiaoyan was furious and wanted to grab a knife and kill his way to the Liu family, but he was thrown out of the manor. Ever since Madame passed away, Xiaoyan seemed like a changed person, getting drunk all day, crying when drunk, grabbing my arm and making a drunken scene, begging me not to leave him. I found him annoying, but Tang Yuan told me to bear with it and had the workers carry him to a side room in the back courtyard to sleep it off. The weather's nice today, and there are quite a few people in the shop. At the corner table sat several young lords in fine clothes and fancy hats. One of them I recognized young Marquis Xiao, an old friend of Xiaoyan's. This guy swings both ways. Back then, seeing how pretty Tang Yuan was, he even had designs on Tang Yuan. Young Marquis Tao often comes to my shop to eat. He is fairly generous. Occasionally he says some dirty jokes after drinking, but as long as it is not too much, Tang Yuan and I just treat it like a fart didn't hear it. "Shopkeeper Hai, have you heard?" Young Marquis Cao had drunk too much and looked at me with a grin. I flipped through the account book. "Heard what?" Young Marquis Cao sneered. "The Xiao family is finished. Isn't this just how fortune changes? Back then, that guy dressed you up like a dog to amuse his beauty for a smile, and now his wife ran off and is forcing him to divorce. Isn't this karma?" Everyone burst into laughter. I felt uneasy inside, not wanting to hear people mock the Xiao family, so I shot a glare at young Marquis Cao and teased. "I heard that since young Marquis lost his wife, several marriage arrangements have fallen through. You haven't even sorted out your own family matters yet. You are meddling in others." Young Marquis Cao was really drunk, staggering toward me. "Those common beauties don't catch my eye. I only like someone as pretty as shopkeeper Hai." As he spoke, his hand reached over. I dodged away in disgust. Young Marquis Cao smirked wickedly. "This brother has avenged you, you know. That Liu Qingyan thought the Xiao manor was finished, and now she is desperately trying to divorce and find a new prospect. The other day she deliberately arranged to bump into me at Sangxing Temple, and we fooled around right under the Taoist master's nose." Just as young Marquis Cao's hand touched my face, I saw Tang Yuan dash out. He kicked the young Marquis in the stomach, holding a kitchen knife in his hand, slashing at the man like a madman. "What are you doing?" Young Marquis Cao's face turned pale with fright. He clutched his injured shoulder, backing away repeatedly, glaring at Tang Yuan. "Do you know who I am? How dare you touch me?" Tang Yuan's eyes turned fierce, pointing the kitchen knife at young Marquis Cao. "So what if I touch you? Who gave you permission to touch her?" Young Marquis Cao narrowed his eyes. "What is the big deal about a little touch?" Tang Yuan slashed at him again with the knife, but missed and only cut the hem of young Marquis Cao's clothes. "You little punk! You really dare?" Young Lord Cao hurriedly scrambled up, pointing his finger at Tang Yuan and cursing. "It was just a joke. Who is she to you? Why are you so worked up?" Tang Yuan was breathing heavily, held it in for a long while, and finally squeezed out. She is my shopkeeper." Young Lord Cao was stunned, glanced at the two of us and immediately understood. He pouted, eyed the knife in Tang Yuan's hand, and walked out resentfully. "Fine. If you can't take a joke, then forget it. We're old friends and regular customers. Is it necessary to pull a knife? How scary." I held back my laughter, walked toward Tang Yuan, and snatched the kitchen knife from his hand. Whew, this kid was gripping it so tightly. His hand had turned white, still panting heavily from anger. All right. I gently stroked Tang Yuan's chest, and suddenly noticed he had shot up so tall now. I only reached his shoulders. He was handsome, and even looked good when angry. That bastard Tang Yuan spat in the direction the young lord had left, cursing. "Back when we were at the Duke's manor, he was always teasing me, and now he even dares to make suggestive remarks at you. Does he think I am dead? Don't be angry anymore." I casually grabbed his arm, walking back, and scolded him with a smile. "You are usually as refined as a scholar, but today you suddenly lost your temper, gave me quite a scare." Tang Yuan naturally held my hand. "I just hate it when others bully you. Whoever bullies you, I'll kill them." My heart felt warm. Suddenly, I noticed Xiao Yan standing ahead. Tang Yuan and I exchanged a glance. This was bad. Earlier, young Marquis Cao was spouting nonsense and mentioned Liu Qingyan. He might have overheard. Third master. Tang Yuan stepped forward, trying to steady the swaying man. Xiao Yan glanced at our joined hands, said, "Sorry for intruding," and hurried off. That day, Xiao Yan chased after young Marquis Cao to settle the score, demanding to know what he meant by those words. Two grown men fighting in the street, very undignified, just as Xiao Yan and Liu Qingyan's marriage seemed on the verge of collapse. Things took a turn. After thorough investigation, it was confirmed that the eldest son of the Xiao family hadn't defected, he had simply died in battle. The charges of treason against the Xiao family were dropped. The emperor was moved, released Uncle Xiao and Second Master, and bestowed some gifts upon them. The gates of the duke's mansion opened once again. Those sycophants who had avoided the Xiao family before now rushed to visit Uncle Xiao, Tang Yuan and I, discussed it, and decided to pay a visit as well. To our surprise, Uncle Xiao had us thrown out, and the gifts we brought were tossed out too. The steward berated in front of everyone, "You two lowly slaves, back when you saw the Duke's manor in trouble, you came to watch the show and laugh at us. Now you want to claim kinship, scram. 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 Don't dirty our manor's threshold." Tang Yuan and I were so embarrassed, our faces turned bright red. Thinking about it afterward, we could roughly grasp Uncle Xiao's deeper meaning. Sure enough, at night, someone suddenly threw a package into our courtyard. Tang Yuan and I were startled. We went out with a lantern to look, picked up that black bundle, and opened it to find a pair of dragon and phoenix jade pendants inside, along with a letter on peach blossom stationery. The characters on it were bold and powerful, clearly written by a military man's hand. It was from Uncle Xiao. "A fine son and daughter-in-law, love stronger than gold. May you grow old together with a house full of children and grandchildren. Ronger uncle is doing well. Thank you for burying your auntie. You and Tang Yuan must live well and have a smooth life. Burn this letter after reading, and don't come to the Xiao Manor again. Take care." After reading the letter, tears streamed down my face. "Uncle Xiao." Tang Yuan held me in his arms, stroking my back, and comforted me gently. Court politics change in an instant. The old master drawing a clear line between us is also for our own good. I nodded with a choked sob. Not long after, I heard that Liu Qingyan sauntered back to the Duke's manor. Since the eldest son died in battle, the position of heir would definitely go to Xiao Yan. She accused him with tearful eyes, saying it was all because of her spineless father who forced her to divorce. She was deeply in love with the third master, and living at her maiden home was like living through years of suffering. It is said that Xiao Yan laughed coldly several times, threw a divorce letter at Liu Qingyan, slapped that woman twice, scolded her a few times, and turned to leave. Tang Yuan was right. Court politics really do change in an instant. Uncle Xiao, who had just returned to the manor in glory not long ago, was impeached again. The reason was that he had known about Prime Minister Li's treasonous intentions years ago, but didn't report it to the throne, and had complained about His Majesty several times before, with suspicions of privately mobilizing coastal defense troops suspected of treason. The court opened the imperial prison once again, and the Xiao family was raided again, this time even more severely. Tang Yuan and I, as former members of the Xiao family, were also taken to the imperial prison for interrogation for several days. The assistant commander of the embroidered uniform guard personally interrogated us, saying as long as we provided evidence of Uncle Xiao's treason, not only would they release us, but they would also reward us with 100 taels of silver. We wouldn't do anything that goes against our conscience, not even if it killed us. After going through several rounds of torture, those guards saw that they really couldn't get anything out of us. And before I had indeed returned all the money and property that Uncle Xiao had given us, and Uncle Xiao had indeed sent people to curse us as lowly slaves. In the end, it was that loose-lipped young Marquis Cao who helped plead for us, and Tang Yuan and I were released to go home. The Xiao family wasn't as lucky as us. Uncle Xiao was forced to take his own life, and all 68 members of the Xiao family were executed. When the emperor was reviewing the case files, he saw a secret report submitted by the embroidered uniform guard. Uncle Shao had once cursed Xiao Yan for being neither scholarly nor martial, calling him a waste over the matter of establishing an heir. The emperor smiled faintly, crossed Xiao Yan's name off the execution list, and decreed, "Then let him be a waste." Of the entire Xiao family, only Xiao Yan survived. I never saw Xiao Yan again after that. Some said he went mad, wandering around begging like a beggar. Others said he killed himself, and his remains were devoured by stray dogs. 3 years later, Tang Yuan and I got married. Our business did well. Not only did we open several restaurants, but we also started dealing in silk and raw medicines. We moved into a bigger house, and life was prospering. Gunzi, who had come out with us back then, got tired of staying in the capital and took a big ship to the west to trade porcelain. On the first day of the 12th month, Tang Yuan and I went to the temple to burn incense. I was pregnant and had cravings. I just wanted to eat vegetarian temple food. Tang Yuan eagerly went off to ask the head monk for some. I stood by the carriage with my belly showing, holding onto the maid's hand, waiting. Just then, a female beggar suddenly threw herself at my feet, hugging my legs. "Madam, have mercy, spare me something." The maidservant kicked at the female beggar. Get away, careful not to dirty my madam's skirt." Shaokui. I frowned, glaring at the maidservant, took out the bird's nest cake from the food box, squatted down and handed it to the female beggar. "Sister, you must be starving, have some." The female beggar snatched the bird's nest cake and wolfed it down. I handed over another piece. "Slow down. There is more here." I sighed. What a pitiful soul, in such cold weather, dressed so thinly, filthy and smelly all over, nothing but skin and bones, like a skeleton, with festering sores on her arms, as if she had some kind of disease. Suddenly, I realized this female beggar looked very familiar. "You are Liu Qingyan?" I asked in shock. The female beggar froze, slowly raising her head. When our eyes met, she screamed, covered her face, and scrambled away. At this moment, a vendor selling incense paper nearby sneered, "Madam needn't pity her. I heard she used to be the young madam of the Duke's mansion, yet she was fooling around with other men while married. When her family got into trouble, some died and some were sold off. She was thrown into the court of entertainment, caught a dirty disease, and was tossed out. At first, she still relied on her looks to seduce men for a meal, but now everyone knows she has a dirty disease, and no one pays her any attention." I was instantly stunned. Just then, I heard Tang Yuan calling me from behind. "Wronger, why don't we go inside to eat? The vegetarian meal will get cold if brought out." I turned around, flashed a sweet smile at my tall and handsome husband, and reached out my hand to him. "I can't walk anymore. Come help me."